Hello! A good and refreshing afternoon sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Tina Rodriguez. I am a writer, blogger, homeschooling mom, and homeschooling advocate. Welcome to the Prepared with Tang Facebook Live session. Please do feel free to share in the comments where you are watching from. Maybe may mga foreign viewers po tayo or mga viewers in the provinces, no? So please feel free to say hello in the comments. Kasama ko po ngayon ang aking fellow mom na si Mikaela or Mika and her daughter Noel.
Hi, refreshing afternoon to
Hello.
all. I'm Mikaela Martinez. I am a homeschooling mom. I have 3 kids. I'm an entrepreneur and social media influencer. With me is my daughter Noel.
Hi, I'm Noel. I'm a YouTuber, a vlogger. My YouTube channel is Noel Knows, and yeah, I do social media as well.
That's awesome, Mika and Noel. So, I'm also into social media pero hindi ko pa na-try yung vlog kasi di ako marunong mag-edit ng videos. Maybe I'll ask my kids to teach me. So today, our topic is distance learning or home learning, right? Which is a little bit different from homeschooling, which is what Mika and Noel and I do. We're homeschooling. But we know the end goal is the same, right? To educate our kids. And we want to draw from our experiences as homeschoolers, as homeschooling moms. We'll have a refreshing conversation on how to help our kids cope with distance learning, which is the reality of many families now, no, because of this pandemic. At meron din tayong mga tips kung paano simulan ang learning at home. So, mommies, be sure to prepare your Tang juice, like I have, together with your favorite snack, so you and your kids can stay refreshed during this session. And please prepare pens and paper for your kids because mamaya may activity for them. Also, feel free to ask questions in the comments below, okay? Kasi we will try to answer your questions in the last part of this session. So, Mika, I want to ask you, how long have you guys been homeschooling?
It's been 3 years.
3 years now.
Yeah, 3 years. So we're
Wow.
able to adapt. But of course, as like all the other moms, parang you get overwhelmed. Like, kaya ko ba to? Parang what do I need? Am I good enough, to be able to handle the education for my child? You feel like it's such a big responsibility. Pero as you go on, you learn as you go through it. So parang moms, parang kaya mo yan. Let's just do it slowly and follow your own pace.
Yes, I think that's the question of many moms, no? Like, how do we start learning at home? Or yun nga, ngayon, paano nga ba ang distance learning? Which is a lot of families are going to be doing that or already starting to do that now. And for us moms, whether we're homeschooling or distance learning, I think the first tip that we can share is to set up a study space at home. Right? So, kailangan meron pa rin parang dedicated learning area for our kids to go to. There's a place and time for them to study. And there's a place and time for them to, just sit down and really focus on what they want to do. Right, Mika?
Yeah, we totally agree with you. I know Noelle, she loves having a desk because we have tried sometimes na nasa bed lang siya and she ends up sleeping. I come back to the room and I'm like, what are you doing? Bakit ka natutulog? And it helps that you have a special space for studying like going to school, di ba? Parang you prepare your desk with your materials para everything is there na.
Yeah, I agree. Being homeschooled for 3 years, having a designated study spot really helped me focus, and I've seen the difference from studying in your bed and studying in a desk. And studying in a desk or in a study spot really did help me. It was a big thing that helped me during this homeschool journey.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's a tip that not just homeschooling families can relate to, but also those who are doing distance learning, no? So it's really important that now our kids are doing home learning. So whether you're homeschooling or distance learning, meaning they're enrolled in a school and they're attending online classes with a teacher, it's important for us moms to set up their own study area as much as possible, right? So based on our experience naman, learning can really happen anywhere. Like Mika said, no, we've tried on the bed, we've tried on the floor. But now that our kids are older, like I have 5 kids, and the 2 older ones, I really find that shock ba kayo? Yeah, I have 5 kids. So the eldest is turning 14. So the almost 14-year-old and the 11-year-old, I think it really helps for them to have a desk, and they're the ones who really looked for an area, no? Kasi ako parang sige, wherever you want to do your lessons, it's fine with me. But they're the ones who really, every day they go to a certain spot. So I think it's really important to really have a study space so that they are focused on everything. And second, I think what we can share with the moms watching this, or maybe even the dads, there should also be a sort of like routine, no, or schedule that the kids can follow. So for example, in the morning, there's time for science, like 8 to 9 a.m. or 9 to 10 a.m. It could be math. And then, syempre, nakakagutom minsan yung mga harder subjects, right? So, it's always good to have a refreshing break, right?
I actually agree with you. A schedule really helped us. When we started, that was our step one. Actually, we're like, okay, let's fix our schedule, because with all the subjects, parang how do you know how to divide the time? So we did parang kunyari 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock we do math, and then 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock we do science. But the good thing about homeschooling and distance learning is that you are not limited to the time. If the child wants to extend the class because they find it more interesting, parang that's the good thing about this. Parang they get to enjoy the subject more and really focus on that if that's what they prefer. So for us, a routine worked, but as you go along, you'll find that parang it gets adjusted. And so you do what works for you. But for me, step one is get that routine and schedule as a guide.
Yes, that's right. And of course, it always helps to take a break, right, Mika and Noel, to always be refreshed and take a break in between. So I think that's the other tip that we will share with you, is have snack time in between classes or lessons, right?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with that. Because if you keep them studying the whole day, 5 hours straight, they are wala. Parang will anything enter your brain? I don't think so. So with us, we always take a break. I always prepare like a glass of Tang juice, and she has one when she studies. She also has a bowl of snacks, her favorite fruits. Para they're always refreshed throughout their learning process. And what's nice about Tang is that it is 100% vitamin C, and it has real fruit extracts. So sobrang nakaka-refresh siya.
Yeah, I agree. I've been studying for doing homeschool for 3 years, and having a snack bowl or Tang, which I love, by your side, especially before you study, it will really help you focus. So yeah, that's one tip that we have for you guys.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I remember when I was younger, Tang was our go-to juice, and that was some years ago, a lot of years ago. When I was studying, it would also be one of the drinks that my mom would prepare for us, along with snack time when we do our homework. So, aside from break time not to eat, I think it's also important for kids to have a break from just sitting down, no, from lessons. And I think whether you're homeschooling or distance learning, it's really important to have exercise breaks or just physical breaks, right? Even for us adults that are working at home, we also need to get active, right? Or else, it's not healthy for us. So, you can just get up for a while, especially if you're sleepy. No? Pag inaantok ka na, I'm sure, Noel, you can relate, and my kids can also relate to this, when they're doing something that's really challenging, you sort of feel sleepy. So do some stretching, right? Do some stretching exercises, or just walking in place, or maybe even dancing. So maybe you'd like to share, how do you guys do your exercise break?
Speaking of antok, I think that's a struggle among all the moms. Parang the kids always get lazy kasi you're home. Di ba? When they're home, parang they just want to be lazy and watch TV and like do nothing. Di ba? So how do you pull them out of that rut? Parang, guys, it's time to work. It's time to jump. Do your jumping jacks now. But this girl, she was actually very lazy before homeschool. She was always like, Mom, I don't want to do anything. But luckily, after, I don't know, parang she realized it on her own. She's like, okay, I gotta exercise. So now she's the one who got the whole family into working out. So now we all work out together. And it really helps that parang you also motivate each other. Parang if the child also sees you exercising, parang you'll all want to do it together. It's very good that we get our, especially now that we're at home, parang it's good to have some movement so that it's healthy also. It's also for your mental health, not just physically, but it's also for your mental health. So for us, that really works to have exercise breaks, right?
I think that's also something that even working parents, parents working from home should remember, no. And I like that you're exercising together. I think I should get Noel to talk to my kids so that they'll be the ones to push us, my husband and I, to exercise. Kasi minsan sila yung parang, I'm gonna go out, mama, kasi I'm gonna exercise, go for a walk. And I'll be like, okay, have fun. So yeah, but I think also, one of the challenges is how do we keep distance learning interesting or learning at home, right? In our case, homeschooling. So how can we keep it interesting for our kids? You know what? We have a guest today who will help us, with this concern. How do we make learning at home interesting? So everyone, I want us to welcome all the way from Europe, a refreshing welcome to Ian Santa Maria.
Hi, Tina. Hi, Mika and Noel. Thanks for having me today. Hello.
Hello, Ian. So please feel free to share a bit about yourself with us and our audience watching us.
Refreshing afternoon sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Ian Sta. Isa po akong comic book creator and senior concept artist.
Wow, that sounds so exciting. We discovered today that Ian works for Lego. And, if you have kids who are Lego fans, especially fans of the Lego movie, get them to watch right now. Tell them to stop whatever they're doing and watch right now. So thank you for joining us, Ian. And, we want to share with you some concerns that a lot of moms are facing now. So how do we keep learning at home interesting? Care to share your thoughts or tips with us?
I think any kind of learning naman can be interesting. Kids are naturally imaginative and inquisitive. So educators and parents kind of need to embrace that. I've always believed kasi sa importance ng play. So if we teach lessons through play, we can show kids that learning doesn't have to be boring.
I like what you said about play. Can you elaborate a bit? What do you mean by play?
Well, using your creativity and imagination, having the freedom to explore. It's not about being worried naman kung mali o tama kasi naglalaro ka lang. So play can also be done sa mga simple activities like drawing or telling stories, which enhance creative thinking, like always.
I'm so happy that you said that because sometimes for homeschooling or learning at home, all I do is just let my younger kids play, especially with Lego. So yeah, just go ahead because I have stuff to do. I have work. So bahala kayo dyan. So it's good that you brought it up. No, this is one of the things that I'm sure Mika can relate. We like about home learning is that we can give our kids more freedom to be creative. But as an artist, I want to ask you, what's your advice for moms to make sure that kids can learn creatively at home? No? Kasi minsan it's a challenge for us. Like, we want to stick to the textbooks or whatever books that they're using. And the creative part is lost on us. So what can you say about that?
Well, it's always important to expose your kids to creative inspiration, Like for me, it's comic books because the comic books is in my core. And cartoons, anime, manga, and even different kinds of music. they can always pick something up from that and apply it to other subjects like language, history, hindi lang art. Tapos on a practical note, just providing tools like colored pencils, ball pens, markers, and just plain paper can encourage them to get creative. And I'd like to advise, moms and probably dads na hayaan lang nila mag-drawing at mag-explore yung mga anak. Kasi yung medyo avoid rin natin yung masyadong matigas na rules na dapat ganito yung kulay, dapat ganito, dapat ganyan. Constant correcting kasi discourages creativity. Well, I think.
I really agree with you. No, I learned that early on when we started our homeschooling journey around 13 years ago, that yun nga parang don't correct agad na, ay hindi, dapat green lang yung tree or yung sun dapat yellow, bakit purple, diba? So I think it's really encouraging for you to affirm that. And it's one thing to guide them, but we also want our kids to discover things on their own, right? And I believe that's what creativity teaches us, which leads us to our very exciting activity for today. Ian, care to talk us through? And mommies, please make sure, get your kids ready to join us for this activity.
Thanks, Tina. But before we start, I'll need some of you to get some paper and drawing materials ready. Probably give you a minute, and timer starts now.
Okay, so we will wait for the mommies and daddies. You can join in too, and their kids to get your materials ready. So, pwede na yung paper and whatever drawing materials that you have, no? Ian, you mentioned that comics played a very important role in your being creative. I remember kami din ng mga kapatid ko, meron kaming comics collection na sadly na ondoy. But we had this like big collection of what do you call this? Katie Keene, Archie, Marvel comics, DC comics, and these comics really helped us to we would come up with our own storylines, try to draw the characters. So yeah,
that's exactly how I started. So that's totally fine.
Yeah, so mommies and daddies, no, don't be hampered by what you think creativity should look like. All right, so let's start with our activity.
Yeah, okay. So today we'll be doing a simple comic book drawing activity. Hindi naman kailangan pulido yung gawa. Just feel free to get creative as possible using any available drawing materials that you have. So I'm going to show you this presentation of how I draw. Tapos kids, kailangan nyo lang mag-drawing ng kahit ano. Just use your creativity and try to use my drawing as an inspiration. At huwag kayong mag-alala kasi wala naman pangit o maganda. Just let your imagination play. Okay, so as you see here, I am drawing what seems to be like a branch, and I like to play around with a lot of color. And this usual technique is color blocking. Again, kids, dapat hindi kailangan masyadong pulido. Just play around. And here I'm drawing a little bulol. A bulol is a tiny statue, a tiny Filipino statue na naglalakad sa forest. And ang maganda dito is kung madrawing niyo yung umpisa or yung kasunod na mangyayari sa picture na to. So just use your imagination and think of how the story could start or could end. Yep. So there you go.
All right, I hope you're doing it.
Noel, I hope you're having fun.
Yeah,
It
I was
doesn't have to be
ask you,
as professional as it is.
I just wanted to ask you again. I'm curious. When did you start drawing? Like, I'm just wondering, as a parent, like, when did you discover that you actually had the talent?
Oh, well, my mom claims that I started drawing at 6. She gave me, at that time, she gave me a blackboard. But then we moved on to pen and paper kasi kinakain ko daw yung chalk eh. So, papel ka na lang. So, but yeah, so, And then I actually drew first before I became obsessed with comic books. So, Noel, I hope you had fun with this activity.
Yes, I did. This is my drawing.
Nice. It's actually super cute. So he went straight home. Is this after or before?
Oh, this is the start. This is my
Oh,
interpretation
nice.
part of the story. So
That's
he's going
super
to
cute.
his house. Yeah. So I used my iPad as my material. And what I like about using my iPad is because there's a lot of colors already on here. And then I just used a pen.
Super
But then
cool.
I like how you could just use different materials. And also, when I study and do my projects, I also like how my materials are already readily available on my desk. And yeah, I really like this activity because it really made me play with my imagination and my storytelling. So yeah, I'm very
That's
happy.
super cool. Well, just keep getting creative. It doesn't have to be naman always an iPad, or it can be anything. Remember, these are just tools that anyone can use. So good job, Noel.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
like your drawing.
I know I expected her to do a stick man. Ang galing pala. You never really know until you actually
Yeah.
give him a task, and that's when you see, ay, kaya pala nila. Like, I had no idea that she could draw like that. Honestly, sorry, but hindi
There you go.
I
Because
think it's
sometimes you even surprise yourself.
yeah.
yeah. You know what, Ian, you mentioned that you started drawing at 6. Look, I have a daughter, like our third child. So she's not really into writing yet, the physical active writing, but she loves to draw. She started at 6 like you, and now I'm like, oh, you drew this? So where did you copy it from?
Yes.
So, but she didn't copy it from. So it was from her imagination. So I think it's really good that you highlighted that, knowing that we just need to give kids the opportunity, the time, the space, the materials to be creative. So thanks so much for sharing that refreshing and really creative activity with us. So I hope Noel and the other kids who maybe tried out the activity right now or maybe later as they watch the replay, no, I hope they'll really enjoy. And I'm sure even the mommies and the daddies and the non-mommies and daddies watching this, learn something about creativity. So if you did create any artworks, please feel free to share them with us through the comment section below this video, and we'll try to give you some feedback. So for now, let's look at some questions that people are asking us. All right, so we have the first question. It goes like this: makakatulong ba kung magsuot sila ng school uniform kahit nasa bahay lang sila? So Mika, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Well, for me, as long as it's changing into something new, like taking a shower first of all, and then changing into a new set of clothes as if you're going to school, and yes, your uniform, because it gives you a different mindset and a change of atmosphere. Like, okay, I'm here to study. It's not like I'm here in my pajamas. I can lie down in bed again anytime. So it gives you that switch in your mindset now. Okay, it's time to study. So I think it's really advisable to get showered and changed at the start of your day.
Yeah. And as a homeschooler, I can definitely agree with what my mom said because I can definitely see a difference when I'm wearing my pajamas and when I change. And it just makes you more focused and in another mindset. Like it switches your mindset completely into study mode. So, yes.
Thank you for sharing. How about you, Ian? Would you like to chime in?
I actually completely agree. It's actually setting up a ritual para lang ma-change yung mindset, so that I work from home. So it separates the work hours from the non-work hours, and then fixing yourself. I don't wear a uniform, pero, I try to dress up as I can for my work hours, but I am also known as the guy who wears shorts during Zoom meetings. So, pero nakapola
Yeah.
naman.
Di naman kita eh. Yeah, I do that too. Naka-shorts lang Zoom meetings.
Diba?
I want to chime in on that. I'm like the complete opposite, but But I do get the point about, getting dressed and changing the mindset. So ako kasi, like, in our home, the kids can, wear whatever they want because we're homeschooling. But you should still have that mindset that when you're gonna do something related to your homeschooling, you do it without complaining or, going back to bed. And I think over the years, my kids have adapted naman. So even if they're kahit nakapagtulog pa rin sila. So they still get stuff done. So I think it really depends on, I don't know, what works for you. I think we also want to share siguro yung mga distance learning families kasi their kids are enrolled in schools and they have like online classes with teachers. So the schools might require that your kids wear uniforms. So it really depends then on what kind of learning at home you're doing, whether it's homeschooling or distance learning. But really, if there are no rules from the school, it's really also up to what you and your kids decide, right? So Mika and Noel, ganun din. Okay? So we have another question. All right. Is it okay? Oh, I know this mom. Hi, Adra. Is it okay to incorporate house chores in between homeschooling? All right. Mika, do you want to answer this? Or Noel, you want to answer?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is bad, but honestly, okay. Oh no, now I feel like I'm a bad mom.
No,
Okay. Because honestly, like this girl does not have house chores, but for me, as long as they keep their room clean and neat, they bring down their tray if they eat their snacks, and just generally just clean up after everything that they do, then I'm okay. So I don't naman make them wash the dishes or anything, but I mean, but then again, it's really what works. I mean, if that's what works for you, if you feel like that's the discipline that your child needs, then I think that you should do it. But if you feel naman na it doesn't carry much weight, then parang no pressure. For me, whatever works for you, that's what you follow. Because you can't naman force it, say, no, kasi sabi niya, ganyan eh. So kailangan sundin. It doesn't work that way. Well, for us, we just find what works for us, and that's what we follow. So that's my advice.
It's okay. Pareho tayo nagko-confession dito. So ako, my kids do their lessons in their pangtulog. And then kayo, no house chores. But even just keeping clean after themselves, that's really a discipline that, they need. And I think what you mentioned, it really depends per family. What's important is that there's a routine and a schedule. Like, for example, kami, we don't have like, okay, 7 o'clock wake up, 8 o'clock do this, and 9 o'clock do this. But we have a routine. So the kids know, like, when they wake up, this is what they're supposed to do. They make their beds, bathroom, and then, say their prayers, and then have breakfast. And then the big kids, they have their own tasks for the day. So part of their routine is, they start to do what they can on their own. And, it's really up to how you fix your day with your kids. So, yung house chores kami talaga, we don't have helpers. So, they really don't have a choice. They have to help with the house chores. But, so we also include that in their schedule and in their routine. So they know that, when it's almost lunchtime, you have to set the table, and then after, you wash the dishes, right? So I'm sure, Ian, you can relate. I mean, you, syempre, living on your own, you live on your own there. You have to do stuff on your own, right, as an adult. So
I actually use house chores to think. So when I'm when I'm trying coming up with a concept, nagkukuskus ako ng oven.
Uy, pareho tayo! Ako, bathroom tayo.
Miss ako ng banyo. And then, that's where I come up with my ideas, just, pwede yan. And then balik ka sa kuskus ulit. Alam mo yan. So, Plus, my mom would always say chores helps build character. So,
yeah. So, tinitingnan ka, Noel, ni Mama. Mama. We have another.
My mom would say that kasi at that time, ako yung walang character. So.
I'm sure she's very proud of you now, though. I know that. So ngayon naman, merong isang question. How about taking nap or siesta between the homeschooling hours? Oh, okay. So, for me, I think it also depends on what you agree on with your kids, right? So, Hi, Mika and Noel. So the question was, how about taking naps between homeschooling hours? I think it also depends on the age
Yeah.
of the kids. No?
Right.
Kasi ako naman, I
Yeah.
want our older kids to, like, sometimes I ask them to take naps, especially if they slept late or weren't able to sleep, but they don't want to. So, so how about you guys, Noel and Mika? What do you think about this?
She doesn't really take naps because, well, for her, I guess she prefers to finish the task in the day.
Right.
I mean, for me, it's like finish what you have to do first, and then later on you sleep. Because if not, it will pile up. So again, that's how we do it here. But then again, if you have younger kids, of course, like 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, they would really like to have a nap. Parang, cause especially if they're home, they're still adjusting with I'm not in school, I'm at home. Usually they associate home with like resting, playing. So this is actually gonna be a good adjustment for them if they continue to have naps for the younger kids.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I'm actually a firm believer in naps. I hope my boss is not watching, but I take power naps in between the day,
Okay.
even at the office. Back then, we used to have these bean bags beside our desk,
Wow.
kasi, so that you can rest. Because
Yeah.
the creative blocks don't really exist. That only happens when you're tired, I think. Which I always tell my boss. So if you're watching, I need that to work. So
Good point. Good point about power naps. I think that's something also that we need to take into consideration, especially us moms. No, so noted, noted. So okay lang na mag-nap between homeschooling hours, especially if your kids are young or you feel that they need the extra rest. Miss Sam, who's asking. All right, let's see if we have any more questions. Another one from Kathy. How will you compartmentalize house chores, me time, school time, and family time when everything is done at home?
Do you have an answer?
I have
Oh,
an answer.
She wants to answer
Yes,
this.
go.
Okay, so doing homeschool for 3 years, especially in the first year, it was such I mean, I had to go through that managing time stage where I had to figure out, okay, this is school time, this is me time, this is family time. I think just setting, I mean, every child is different, and I learned that only you can set that schedule. So if you like working in the morning, then maybe set a few hours for the morning and then set another period as break time for your me time. But then if you like working at night, that's a totally different story. So maybe you could do school at night and then me time in the morning. And so it just depends on the child. Yeah.
Spoken like a true homeschooler. Home learner. But Mika, you want to add to what Noel said?
Yeah, again, I really believe in that. It's really finding your own pace, finding your own time, and what works for you. You can. It's hard because if you force it on them, because there's so much pressure already as a child to switch to this whole distance learning. No one was prepared for it. They all want to see their friends. They're all missing the vibe in school. I mean, we were all in school once, and we know we love hanging out with friends, and it's so different for them. So to help them adjust, I feel we should give them a little break. It's important for them to find what works for them and not force them into it. Also, so that they learn to love it and enjoy it. So, it will help if really back again to the schedule and routine. Do that outline of your schedule and routine, and then adjust as you go along. So that's how I would do it.
Yeah, I think it's also, if you have younger kids, it's good to have visual reminders then of how the routine every day will flow. So you like post it somewhere that they can see. I think kasi even as adults, no, we need to do that then. So even yung me time, you remind yourself din na kailangan may time ka for yourself. So for adults and kids, I think that's what's really important. But we also siguro need to come up with a mindset that, what we're doing now, even the learning at home, it's life, right? I mean, that's our life now. So even si Ian, I'm sure nag-work ka, but you're at home, and it's still part of your life, right? So it's kind of hard to compartmentalize because you're at home, but it can help to like give you those markers lang na, okay, this is what's gonna happen today. Ganun.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I'd make it a point that at 4 o'clock, work stops and then my personal time starts. But everything before 4 p.m., trabaho talaga. Except for that, 30-minute power nap. But, that's part of it.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing. Okay, let's see if there are any more questions from G. She says, can you give any advice to moms? The importance of homeschool, especially for those first-time moms with toddlers.
Hmm.
All right.
Okay, I actually have a toddler. So I have three kids. 16,
Yeah.
then I have a 12-year-old, and then I have a 4-year-old. So we are at that stage now where this is like the first time for him. Because imagine at 4 years old, you're looking forward to playing with your classmates, and going to school, seeing your teachers. So with us, this year, it's going to be me. And imagine trying to make that child sit down and come on, time to read, time to write with mommy. And he's like, why? You're not my teacher. But I think you find parang they're your children, so you make it fun for them. Like for us this year, what we're gonna be doing is gonna be reading books. We're gonna be painting, giving him blank canvas of paper, and then that will be his subject for the day. I'm not gonna be making it like, okay, A B C. I'll find other ways to make it fun for him so that it's not, mommy, you're boring. I have to beat school. I mean, that's my challenge now. It's how do I make it interesting for him, interesting for him. Like maybe tomorrow we'll be planting trees. I mean, like maybe just, or it can even be making slime or preparing a meal. It's a fun thing. So learning doesn't really have to be always by the book. It's everyday living. It's things around the house. So I think it's really incorporating that into your teaching child, especially with toddlers. We can make so many things fun for them.
Yeah, thank you, Mika. I'd like to chime in then with toddlers. If you're talking like about kids who are 1 to 2 years old, yun talaga yung toddlers, diba? Kasi preschoolers usually 4 and up. Really, all you need to do is just read to them read aloud to them, play with them, and really just help them feel secure. I think that's what's most important at the young age. Like, um, build your relationship with them so that it's easier for you later on to teach them. So establish your authority as the nurturing figure in their lives, and then you can just read aloud, talk to them a lot, expose them to a lot. Yeah, expose them to a lot of art, right, Ian?
Yeah.
Allow them to be creative. So I have a toddler now who likes copying his older siblings. All right, and then I sometimes I insist on letting him hold a crayon. But he wants to hold the pen because that's what he sees his older siblings do, like draw with pens and write with pens. So I eventually realized that I should just let him be. So what Ian said, you let them be creative and do whatever they feel like doing, even if it just looks like random lines and things like that. So for moms with toddlers, chill lang kayo, relax. Okay, their education is not a race. And what's really important is we keep that creativity alive. Now, keep the creativity alive because very often the creativity is killed when kids start formal education. And I don't know if you agree with me, Ian, but that's what I see. So,
I agree. Well, I don't have kids, but I'm a firm believer in gamifying learning. If you gamify learning, it helps with memory and recollection kasi because they equate it to fun.
mhm.
Yeah, because we work with a lot of kids when we make our toys at Lego, and a lot of them are 4+. So you try to gamify the bricks so that they remember. If I do this, it's also fun. Plus, I learn something. You know,
Yeah, I
and I also,
totally
it's not just for toddlers, also for me.
Yeah, for us, no, for adults, we also should not forget to be creative and to play and to have fun. So here's another question from from Love Teacher Angel. How can we make sure that kids will not be confused from an environment of homeschooling and being inside of home? I'm
Yeah,
not so sure. Yeah, go ahead, Mika.
Going back to our first tip, it's setting aside that space. So it could even be a corner in the room. It could be another separate room in the sala where you put a desk and a chair for them. It's really setting aside that space. Okay, so once you sit here, it means it's time for school. So that they have a switch. Kasi they get familiar with the place, diba? So they get used to routine. So if you start setting that routine with them, then they will adapt. So I think it's again back to our tip one and tip two. It's the space and the routine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And also, like, if for moms who worry that we just live in a rented place and it's really small and we don't have space for a homeschool room or a learning room. We had that situation many times before we moved here to Bulacan, and all you really need to do is maybe just even have a box or a basket of materials, and when you take them out, okay, this is learning time with mommy. So it signals to them that
Right.
okay, it's time to sit down and have some learning time. So yeah, it's really just
I what
helping
we're
them to switch that mindset, right, Mika?
Mhm.
But again, I want to emphasize that learning really happens whether they're at home or at school if you're really intentional about how you raise your kids and how you expose them and create that environment of learning and creativity for them. Learning will really happen, even if you'll be surprised, just like Mika and Noel kanina. Okay,
And
Ian, how about you?
if I
Yes.
may add something to that, it also works for adults because I do the same thing. I draw on a different table when I'm working, and I draw on a different table if I'm doing personal projects. Just so, tama si Mika yung mindset kailangan may hiwalay.
I like what you said about separate. I think I noticed that with my son. No? Before kasi kahit saan talaga siya, but now that he's older, he has that self-discipline to just really stick to a spot. Minsan naiinis nga siya pag kailangan mo siyang i-kick out of the spot. Like if you have a meeting and it's in the same room, I'm like, okay, you have to leave now because you have to move somewhere else. So thank you for sharing those tips. Now, before we close, I would like to ask, maybe you guys have some parting words or tips para sa audience natin today. So, Ian, would you like to go ahead?
Well, I would say kids just keep drawing, keep sketching, keep imagining, and never stop playing. Don't be afraid to be creative in whatever you do, even if it's just doing your science homework. Don't feel limited kasi nasa bahay lang kayo. For moms and creative kids naman, nurture and encourage them because there's a lot of opportunities waiting right there. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Ian. Mika?
Yeah, moms, just remember that you are never alone. We're all in this together. There's such a huge community, especially now, where social media is readily available. You can message so many moms out there. You can message me. If there are any questions. It's just everyone is just so happy to share because we're all going through this together. Don't forget the tips that we gave earlier because that will help you with your step one, step two, the study space, the routine, taking breaks, and exercising. Those basic steps will actually help you along the way. And don't forget to take a refreshing break always.
Yes, that's right, Mika. Speaking of breaks, don't forget to keep your kids refreshed throughout their day of learning at home. Okay, give them Tang with 100% vitamin C and real fruit extract to keep home learning refreshing. So thank you again for joining us for our Prepared with Tang Facebook session today. Don't forget, if you were able to do the artworks that Ian facilitated in the activity earlier, please post them in the comments so we can see them. And for more discussions and home learning tips, don't forget to follow Tang Philippines on Facebook and visit educacion.ph. That's the website, educacion.ph, for online courses on how to stay creative. So we hope to see you there, okay? So don't forget also, if you want to send more questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. All right. So thank you again, Ian, for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Mika, Noel, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. So once again, everybody, I'm Tina Rodriguez, reminding all mommies to always be prepared with Tang. Together, let's get ready for effective home learning. Bye!
Bye.
We realize that high school, college, even a first job can seem scary. That's why we created education.ph to equip them with tools, connect them to schools, find scholarships, learn online, match their skills to courses and jobs out there. So their future wouldn't be as scary. Education.ph